Is the rumored Nikon Z8 Mark II coming out before the Nikon Z9 Mark II, beating the flagship to the market? And what about the Z7 Mark III? Well, I'll answer these questions along with who'll benefit the most from the upcoming Nikon Z9 Mark II. But first, I have a simple and yet humble request. Please subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost you anything. It helps this channel grow, and most importantly, it keeps you informed on the latest camera gear. Well, folks, if you've been following the latest rumors, you'd come to believe that the Nikon Z8 Mark II and the Nikon Z7 Mark III are going to be announced sometime soon. Well, not according to my source. Well, we've been told that all those videos that you've seen on YouTube and all the stories on the internet showing the Nikon Z8 Mark II as well as the Z7 Mark III coming out soon are incorrect. The Z9 will be Nikon's big camera for 2025, not the Z8 Mark II or the Z7 Mark III. Although where the Z7 Mark III is going to be going, or what it's been doing, or even if it's going to come out, well, that's a mystery to even me and my sources. The Z8 Mark II, though, I do believe that camera is going to be coming, let's say, relatively soon, probably sometime in 2026. If you'll recall, the Z9 came out first, and then the following year, in May, we got the Z8 Mark II. But the real question here is, who is the Nikon Z9 Mark II aimed for? Who will benefit from the upgrade? Well, my source provided us with a little bit of information in that regard. In terms of best bang for the buck, well, that goes to wildlife and sports photographers. We've been told that the upgrade is sure to be transformative, offering performance and features that rely on capturing the action. And if we go back to the early teasers of the Nikon Z9 Mark I, we can clearly see that the camera is marketed towards wildlife and sports photographers, but it was also marketed as a bit of a jack of all trades. The source goes on to say that for those using the Nikon Z9 as a general purpose camera, a jack of all trades, it remains an outstanding camera that continues to deliver good results, making an upgrade less of a necessity. And the source that provides me with this information, how can I say, the person comes across as, well, legitimate. They kind of speak in a certain way that makes them sound like this is a kind of business that they live in. It sounds like that they respect the camera industry, that they're a part of it in some way. It's not somebody that's, how shall we say, just trying to get clicks and views, that's trying to stir up the marketplace. We've seen a lot of these AI-based channels that are just trying to troll people. And the idea of a Z8 Mark II coming out in 2025 or a Z7 Mark III, well, people are starting to pick up on it because, well, for obvious reasons, we got the Z6 Mark III, and previously the Z6 Mark II and the Z6 got announced alongside the Z7 and the Z7 Mark II. But the Z8 Mark II, to come out before the Z9 Mark II? Well, all you have to do is look at the marketplace and say, that don't make no sense. Because the Z9 was the big flagship product that was announced in October. And then the following May, well, we got the Nikon Z8. So the Nikon Z8 was last year in May. No, the year before in May. Sorry, I keep forgetting we're in 2025. And of course, the previous October is when we got the announcement of the Z9. You have to forgive me because as we go into a new year, I'm kind of stuck in a different year and it takes my old man brain to kick up. But the point that I want to say is the Z9, so you can correct me in the comment section, but the Z9 came out first and then the Z8 came out later. And that's what I see happening here. I can't see them release new technology in the Z8, undercutting the Z9. I see it as the other way around, releasing the new technology in the Z9 in the flagship model, where Nikon has taken a different approach to Canon. They've said, you know what? Our Z9 isn't just going to be our flagship camera, but it's going to be a jack of all trades, a master of everything, delivering incredible 8K video up to 60 frames per second. We're getting Apple ProRes. We're getting 120 frames per second. We're getting, what was it? 120 frames per second at 11 megapixels, 20 frames per second lossless RAW at 45 megapixels. I mean, it's a pretty solid camera. And sure, there's room for improvement in the autofocus system because, Well, look at what Canon's done with the R5 Mark II and the R1. It's no longer about being the fastest autofocus system. It's about being able to think a little bit more like, well, you. However, the source did say something that I thought was very, well, prescient, and it kind of speaks to that FOMO. If you're not a sports and wildlife photographer and you own the Z9, well then this upgrade probably isn't going to be all that exciting to you. And if you don't own the Z8, the Z9, or any new Nikon mirrorless camera, I want to draw your attention to a couple of sales on right now. The Z9 Mark I is $500 off at $49.96. And the Z8, which has been characterized as a mini Z9, is $600 off the best price yet at $33.96. And the Nikon Z7 is a whole $1,000 off at $19.96. The same price as the Canon EOS R6 Mark II, another camera that's due to get a refresh, but this camera in 2025, not 2026. And if you are interested in taking advantage of some of the sales on right now, such as the ones I just talked about, I do have about 20 others in the description down below, then please consider using my affiliate links down below, these guys right here, because I'll be quite honest with you, they literally support this channel. They keep the lights on. It's very much appreciated, as I get anywhere from 2 to 5% off the purchase price. However, if you're using something like Honey or something and it comes up saying it's going to offer you a better price, well, it's not, but as soon as it does that, it overwrites my link that you've copied down and places its own in there. So anyhow, all I want to say is a big thanks to those of you that have used my links in the past, because this channel's viewer supported, and that's very much appreciated. It stops me from having one of those annoying 30 to 90 second ads. And what I'm seeing now on some channels, they're going as long as 3 to 4 minutes for an ad at the beginning. Now, I save it to the end where I'm covering off prescient, relevant ads on, well, cameras and lenses that we're talking about in the video. But there is one thing I want to talk about, and that's the Nikon Z9, the Mark I, the price. That was almost too fast the way I said that. $49.96. Now, if we look at the Canon flagship mirrorless camera, the Canon EOS R1, $62.99. That's a huge difference in price. $62.99, $49.96. That's $1,300 off. I'm not trying to convince you to go to Canon or go to Nikon. I'm not trying to do that at all. I'm just trying to give you a juxtapose of where Canon thinks the price of their flagship be and what you can pay for Nikon's flagship camera today. But also the sale price. We're seeing, what was it, $500 off. That sale started just before Christmas. That is what we call an inventory clearing price. Because remember, the Nikon Z9 has been about $1,000 off the price of the flagship cameras for Sony in their Alpha 1 and Canon with the R1, the R3, and the 1DX Mark III. The flagship kind of shifted between each camera depending on what you were interested in. So if you do own a DSLR, I'm not going to say mirrorless is better. It's just that, well, development of DSLRs, at least when it comes to Nikon and Canon, has stopped. They're all mirrorless. So you see a huge jump in terms of improvements in terms of autofocus, dynamic range, performance. In many ways, the camera might be actually more advanced than what you need. In other areas, it's perfect. It's just, well, Nikon's, as I said, they've taken a different approach to their flagship. Canon, on the other hand, has said, you know what? Our R1 is purely aimed at sports and fast action photographers, people who want the highest possible hit rate, that are willing to pay the highest possible price. It's the best of the best of the best. Nikon took a slightly different approach and said, you know what? All these rumors about the Canon EOS R1 to be jack of all trades, master of everything. Well, it looks like Nikon's taken that approach and it wasn't Canon. So I can expect to see them double down on that, but aiming at more sports and wildlife photographers. Now, in terms of an exact date, well, I reached out back to my source, and at this point, we don't have anything, well, tighter, but as soon as I have more information for you, I'll definitely go ahead and publish a video. But all I ask in return, please consider subscribing. Honestly, it really does help this channel grow. The more subscribers the more reach this channel has, and the more engagement that by liking and commenting, it's all very much appreciated. But if you also just like sitting on your couch and using the remote to go by each video and just enjoy the content without clicking, without subscribing or anything like that, well, that's fine too. I just want you to enjoy the content. So the last thing I wish you is a good day, a good week, and we'll see you again soon.